Bueno, pues han pasado ya esos 2 minutitos. Entonces, como hemos dicho previamente, vamos a pasar a otro aspecto relacionado también con la fabricación digital y ahora, bueno, con los vestibles, wearables o e-textiles. Tenemos con nosotros a Anja Hertenberger, más o menos, que bueno, que viene de que viene de Holanda, de Ámsterdam. Ella es profesora en la Escuela de Artes de Holanda. Además de ser profesora, pues es diseñadora. Intenta mezclar la tecnología con el diseño, con el arte, con la creación. Lleva una trayectoria enorme en este mundo y nos va a dar una charla sobre su experiencia y sobre toda la tecnología vestible o wearable. So the talk will be in English. La charla va a ser en inglés. Tenemos la posibilidad de hacer traducción simultánea. Si alguien necesita este tipo de traducción, por favor, decídnoslo ahora, porque si alguien lo necesita, necesitáis vuestro teléfono móvil y unos cascos para conectaros a una radiofrecuencia que estamos emitiendo aquí. Entonces, si alguien quiere la traducción, tendría que conectarse al 103.0 y ponerse los cascos. Si no, hacemos en inglés y sin problemas. Así que me lo decís a mí y así lo hacemos el setup. Así que, there seems that everyone's here speak English, so we can shift now to this language. So thank you, Anja, for being here. So we have just said that you are going to speak about wearable technologies or textiles, about your experience in your teaching courses or your own experience. And here you have come here to the Maker Fair to present this dress or this this design. So we're willing to her for your experiences and your knowledge. So thank you for coming here. And
yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, for having me here. Sorry that I don't speak Spanish. Actually, it was a big dream for me to speak Spanish, but after my study at Hamburg, I moved to Amsterdam and not to Barcelona, so I ended up speaking Dutch instead of Spanish. I moved first to Groningen and did my master there, and there I started with this piece. I made my master, and actually that's my introduction into wearable technology. And I was not aware at this moment, so it's more than 10 years ago, that there's a whole scene behind. So I was interested into the surveillance technology, and did different kind of works with it. But at the end, I was also interested in how would it be to have the system on my body, to be in between of these control systems. So I made a wearable with a little spy camera at the bottom hole at the breast and an LCD screen on the back. And the image was live on the LCD screen, and I walked around on the streets and did different interventions. After my master, I moved to Amsterdam, and nowadays you see all these kind of wearable technology gadgets. But I'm interested as an artist to deal with this whole world and to do more artistic works with it, or kind of giving a feedback or giving a kind of an answer on this whole world. So in Amsterdam, I started to first do my own experience. I dived in to learn on my way electronics. So I made like collages, so with fabric and with drawings and with very simple electronic components. And also we're looking into the aesthetics, like combining wires and embroidery techniques, and combining craft techniques with conductive thread. And then I went to Arduino workshops there and met a lot of people. They are interested in the same thing. And I guess you all know what Arduino is and the lily pad. I just have here some images. Also the lily pad and the breaker board, so that makes it really, really handy for fashion designers or for people that are dealing with soft materials. Is it better like this, or doesn't matter? It's okay? Okay. Yeah, and here are some projects they're made with a lily pad. So on the left side you have Hannah Persson-Wilson, and it's a music pillow. And here on the right side underneath, it's from Liberty. She made her own, she designed the lily pad, and so she made an embroidery piece with the lily pad itself. And on the left, it's a bag which helps you knitting, so that it counts the knitting, how much you knit, and of the pattern, that you could make a pattern. If I blow in, then it's kind of, okay. Here, that's the work of Aphrodite Psara. She's a Greek artist. She's from Athens, and she is very interested also into the graph technology and in performance, and combining technology with craft materials, craft technology. And this is a piece where was looking into the synthesizers, an old kind of synthesizers, and implemented it with conductive thread and made kind of soft synthesizers and made a lot of performances. And this is another piece where she worked with a dancer together. She was interested in to tell the story of women. They are approached with so they have their personal space, and if you approach them, then they give sound feedback. I can, I don't know if I have sound. I don't have sound on. Oh yeah, with a mic. No, it doesn't work. Okay, then I skip the videos. But it's really very nice because it's a very subtle performance which is dealing with the movements. So it's with accelerometers. She measures the movement of the dancer, and with these movements, subtle sound appears. So it's really like the body movement and the sound comes together, and it's really very nice. This is a work from Kobakant. That's Hana and Mika Satomi, and they made the crying dress. And this is also a science fiction story they made up. So it's about the future, 2020. And they thought about a man, a really, really rich man, and he knows that he will die quite soon. And he wanted to have something which helps his wife to cry when he's dead. And so he went to a special fashion designer, and what Hannah and Mika, they think that will be in future like special coutures. They work with e-textiles, and this fashion designer, she developed a dress which helps her to cry. So the headpiece, in the bubbles, there are water in it, and if the water is dropping on the dress, now you don't see it here on the image, but on the sleeve there are black feathers. So the water is dropping on the feathers, and then they drop and fall down on the circuits. And these circuits, they are speakers. And when the water is dropping down, they close the circuit itself, and the speaker will start to cry. So they programmed a little tiny, and it's just a kind of a it's a very ugly screaming sound. Yeah, that's the video of it, but we don't have sound. I try. Okay. Did you hear it? Hear it? Just a little bit, yeah, but okay, just a vague idea. Lace sensor dresses, that's work with Mac and me together, and it deals also with conductive material and craftsman techniques in kind of similar way than Kobakant did with the crying dress. So we collaborated with a lace sensor museum fabric, so it was a fabric, but now it's a museum, but they still have working lace making machines, and so we worked with them together to make a lace with a conductive fabric in it, with a conductive thread in it, and we could make sensors out of it. So we developed 3 dresses, and there are so 3 dresses. They are inspired from 3 different poems, and poems from the around 18th century, and they are poems written from women and then embroidered, and it's not about the normal kind of belief poems or like household poems. It's more, so these are the kind of very rare poems from women. They already reflected their situation to being just women at home and to be beautiful and have to sew, to be distracted from life or something like this. And we use these poems as making the aesthetic of it. So if I go back to these, the first one, it was dealing about dying. So if we read this poem, then she is already dead and her bones are rotten. So we thought, okay, give her a more protecting gesture. And if the wearer itself is making this gesture, she's pressing on sensors. Here on the right, you see the sensor. It goes from the wrist till up to the shoulder, and this one is on the sleeve. And when you press on it, you hear the poem in many speakers embedded in the dress itself. So it's really very private piece, because it's not about that you hear it there. It's more like if I would wear it and I would press it on these gesture points, then I would hear it, or people around me. So these are photos when we choose the lace. And that's at the company. So this old guy, he helped us to making the dress, the lace for the dresses. This is how the technology looks inside. So we worked with Arduino and with an Adafruit wave shield, where we could put the sound just on the SD card. And these are the little speakers. They're embedded in the dress. Yeah, and I also was interested in what it is, what would be if I go on the streets with them, if I do kind of interventions with them. And that was really very interesting. I was invited in Scotland, in Aberdeen, for showing these dresses at a poem festival. And I got 3 models. And with 2 models, I went onto the streets and walked through the city, and we met also people, and they were really, really very curious, how does it sound? So they came really very close. And what I said to the models beforehand was, be really very careful that people are not getting too close, because they're really very fragile, they're white, and you can't wash them really. And then really very intimate situations came up, so that it was kind of the space in between became really very worthful and very special moments. Yeah, this is how we started with the whole project. So we first made a kind of a ping pong game to see what kind of technology or what kind of aesthetic we would like to use. This in the middle is conductive lace, and when you press on it, it can invoke something. So it's like a pressure sensor. That's one of the poems, and this is the fabric lace. So you see here inside the conductive thread, and we make them these kind of sensors out of it. Another project is Historical Bubble. So it's standing here, and we did also today 2 performances. I have to say the battery is now low, so it's only, actually it's not, it's just doing a little bit, but probably you don't see it anymore. And this is the second version of Historical Bubble, and here I'm dealing with costume history from women costumes, and this is the Gigon sleeve, but I will go on working with them and will make also the bustler and these wide hips, and in 1920 there was also a monopressed fashion, and I like to make, so to say, then 4 of those, and we'll work with dancers together to make a performance piece out of it. That is Historical Bubble number 1, so to say, and I was working also with 4 performers together, and the bubbles were on top of the business suits, and I was interested in how how people will react. Actually, it's more like that you have in business structures, really, and what happens when someone is stepping out of the structure. So Historical Bubble is also signing to the personal disorder, hysteria. So it's the underlying problem is the symptom, and it's in Historical Bubble I referred it to identity, to a kind of an underlying identity. And Historical Bubble number 1 had each bubble another embroidery technique on top of it. And so if the performers performed and they made a kind of a walk through the city or walk through a space like here, and one is stepping out of the system, and it's quite hard to walk as in keeping 1 meter between each other, then the underlying symptoms of the bubble is blowing up. And here are some photos of the embroidery technique. So on the left it's black work. The second one is Dutch cross stitch. And then the third is Japanese embroidery, which comes from Chinese embroidery. And on the right, that's Schwälmisch Bordüren. It's a kind of a South German white work embroidery technique. These are some close-ups. That's a video of Historical Bubble, which is not working. But this is the setup, how I make a design, so to say, or choreography for the performers. I program each time the sensors in another way, so that I really can go into the space and look what is interesting for the space itself, for the performance. That's also a photo. Yeah, that's a video from the performance, from one of the performances. And it's also quite funny because at the beginning I really didn't like the sound of the impellers. So I don't know, it's not working. Sometimes it's reacting here, but if I like to show, then it's not working. But at the end, I worked with it because I really find it also it's a very, very disturbing noise, and it can be also part of the performance. So I was working with sound and with the sound of the impeller together, and I like to go further also with this idea. I'm also teaching, I think. It was said, and that's a tryout from 2 students of me, the blind experience. And it's about personal distance, and they worked with conductive paint and very simple, made really very quick and dirty, simple garments. And it's about touching, finding blind the other person, and if they touch, then they deal with yes and no, like yes, it's okay, no, it's not okay, and they also recorded these in different ways. So it's kind of an intimate performance. And because they are blind, they are really searching also for the other body. I try if the sound is coming through. And this is a piece from Ebro and Irene, an ongoing project, the Knitted Radio. That's also quite interesting. It's also about space, but also about craft techniques and electronic techniques. So they made, by knitting techniques, knitting with conductive or resistive material and normal wool, they made resistors and conductors, and made a radio which can be a pullover. And actually they are thinking about the road in Turkey, in Istanbul, where they had these demonstrations, and that you would do in another layer, that you have another communication, so that you can communicate with the radio waves, and that the police is not seeing that we are communicating with each other. So it's a kind of an aesthetic, but also really very political theme. And I don't know if you know about the Jakar project from Google and Levis. That's quite interesting because these two big companies also started now this project making jeans fabric. It's with Jakar weaving. And they tested it with big machines, and I don't know, I didn't heard anything new anymore. It was for half a year, something like this. It was in the news, but they like to make jackets or jeans out of it, so that you wear a jacket, and by just touching your sleeve, that you can use it as an interface for your mobile phone, but you could also use it for something else. But I just go on because we don't have sound really, then it doesn't make so much sense. The climate dress, I also really like this. That's a collaboration between the Diffuse Design company and Swiss embroidery company Foster and Ronan, and they embroidered hundreds of LEDs with conductive thread and normal thread together. So they used special embroidery machines and made these nice pattern. And what is so interesting is that the electronic is visible, but it's still extremely beautiful. So you see here the lily pads, and then CO sensor, which sense if the air is dirty or not, and then if it gets dirty, then the pattern of the LEDs will change. A very poetical work also makes Yang Guai Gao. That's kind of the siblings, and one piece is copying the other piece. So the piece A can be manipulated by a light sensor, and then the other piece will move with it. It's a very, very subtle movement, and it's very poetical. And yeah, see, she is a fashion designer, but she is really working on the edge of fashion. At the Art Academy where I'm teaching, we also have a big fashion academy, fashion department, and it's still kind of a struggle to work with fashion designs together, because wearable technology or e-textile, it's really very slow in production, and in fashion you have to come out with at least two, how do you say it, two series, so let's say series, in the year, and that's too fast for e-textiles. So if you work as a beginner, then most times you come up with LEDs, and then they find it ugly, or they don't see the purpose on it or the research with it. So this is still a kind of a struggle to work with in fashion with e-textiles. That's another piece, Can't and Won't von Young. And that's the spider dress from Anouk Wiebrecht. She's also dealing with personal space. Can show here the video. And it's quite interesting because it's you see the mechanic really very direct, really very good. And it's beautiful and scary at the same time. It's working also with ultrasound sensor, with the proximity sensors, and if you're getting closer, then these spider arms will attack you. That's the robot spider dress. There she developed her idea, and she worked with several, much more distance sensors, so she could be much finer than also with the distance and with where and how many people attacking her or getting closer to her. The Synapse dress, there she's working with EEG, so you see the headpiece, and the EEG, it records how the brain waves are, and this is something where in e-textiles or in the wearable gadget world anyway, it's a kind of a big theme. Yeah, can you measure emotions, or can you measure sensations? I think we are also individuals, so that it's not possible, and I don't think that it will be ever possible. It can be an indication of something, but it can't be like I feel angry, or I feel I hate you, or stuff like this. It's it can be an indication, but not real. But here's the Synapse dress from Anouk Wiebrecht. It measures the EEG, and it shows then kind of a light pattern on the garment itself. She worked with an architect together to make the 3D print together, and it's also a really very good example for to work with other people together. So it's important to work in teams together, or to find collaborations to get further in your project, because yeah, it's programming, electronics, hardware, and the fabrication of it, or the garment, and the knowledge about craftsman techniques. So it's a lot of knowledge what is necessary to work with e-textiles or wearable technology. That's a piece from Asna Rockeman. She studied in Rotterdam, so she was not directly a student of me, indirect. I had gave once a workshop for her, not for her, she was part of it. And that's also interesting because she looks into the future and thinks that we don't have any gender anymore, or that we can change our gender with garment, for example. And she's also measuring brain waves, EEGs, and in theory, so to say, she likes to measure if you feel more female or feel more male at the moment, and in this direction the garment itself will change. And you see she also works with origami techniques. And these are, so she used different kind of technology, so like with origami or with folding techniques. That once the hips are getting wider or less wider. That's Solar Fiber, a project from Marina, Ralph, Agnella, and Meg. and they are interested in how can you bring solar fibers into the fabric itself. So they did the research and find out that you can get through glass phasals really very, very little amount of current. You can't really do something with it at the moment, but it's a starting point. So, but they made different kind of clothings and showed with a they presenting it at museums or exhibitions and show that it's possible. Here we have wearable solar from Pauline van Dongen, and she's working with Christian Holland from the HN University together, and they are implementing solar panels into the design of a dress to be able to charge your laptop or your mobile phone or whatever. So I'm coming now a bit more to the experiment of how can you bring e-textiles into the custom world. Valérie Lamontage, she is also a designer, artist, but she also has a little company where she sells dresses, and you can buy the dresses like they are finished. They are quite simple, so that they give a pattern of LEDs, and but you also could buy it as a do-it-yourself package, so that you can make it by yourself. So she likes to stimulate people to buy these packages and make their own wearable technology dresses. That's another version of it, Strokes and Dots. That's also an interesting product, the inflatable collar from Höfding. It's a collar, and there are accelerometers in it, and it's measuring the behavior of the wearer, and it's for cyclers. So, and when the behavior of the cycler is getting different from a normal pattern, the collar will blow up. So they are, of course, in a process. At the moment, they're developing it and they're selling it. But they also ask if something happened, please send the piece back, at least the memory, so that they can read it out and learn from what happened from the chip itself. But it's quite interesting, so that you don't have to wear these very heavy hats, and you can be more fashionable. E-Press, it's a work with Daniela together. It's also a work in process, and we are interested in indication of stress. In this version, we try to work to measure it with Galvani skin response sensor, but now at the moment we are busy with another version where we measure. This is the second version, where we measure it with muscle tension and with breathing sensors. And our idea is, if we have the indication of stress, that someone else could help us to get over this stress moment. So our idea was that we're getting touched or getting a little massage that would help us to get over it. But also we will show that you are stressed to the outside world. So some people with who we're talking about, they think that's completely crazy. So I don't like to go like a Christmas tree. Someone said that when I'm stressed, then I would like to hide somewhere. But we think it can help, and that you also can perhaps get another communication level. So if, for example, like a group of people sitting here around the table discussing something, or working together, or have a game, making a game together, and they all wearing this dress and or this shirt, what happens with the communication if you train to accept that you're showing that you are stressed, and how the others reacting on it? I'm very interested in this, and at the moment we are busy with making this finished and working also, making kind of tryouts with workshops and see what's coming out of it. And that's Virgio from Paul van Dongen and the TU Eindhoven Textielmuseum. That's also for health care piece. That's a knitted garment, and in the garment itself there are stretch sensors in it, and they measure the behavior of elderly people and giving kind of feedbacks with the app. So the feedback could go directly to the elderly people itself, but it could also go to the doctor or to a physiotherapist, which can help coaching then the people in their behavior, or how they stand and how much exercise they do, or do they move around, or do they only sit on their chair. That's the cloth project from Imogen Habe and her team. So she has a really big team behind, and I don't know if you know Imogen Habe, and that's also really very interesting because with stretch sensors and accelerometers, she's measuring gestures, and she had this big dream to make her own music and sing at the same moment, and so she's making these really beautiful performances with moving her hand and changing her orchestra, so to say, and sing with it. And they are also try to make it open, to make a Kickstarter out of it, and part of it is also open source. Of course, not everything. Yeah, that's a bit a longer video. I don't show this. And here I'm coming to another glove, the Secret Keeper from McGrant. That's an older project, but there I'm coming back to the craft scene, so the e-textile scene. This is actually it's a very simple circuit and very simple made, but really very nice done in a craft technique. Meg, she hacked a greetings card. So like when you close, you make a switch and you close the switch and then a song is going. But there are also these greetings cards where you can record your own message. So she made the Secret Keeper. If you I don't know exactly the gesture anymore, but I think if you close like this, then you can speak something in, and if you close like this, then you can listen it back. And she made all the connections with a conductive thread. So with this beautiful embroidery, these are the switches. And there's a really nice community behind all the e-textile people. So a big, beautiful website is from Kobakan, from Mika and from Hannah together. They have the website How to Get What You Want. And they are making sincere experiments, and all their work, what they do, they make a really nice documentation out of it. So it's a very worthwhile library for e-textile techniques. And I don't know, probably you know Adafruit, and she's also that's a web shop where you can buy a lot of things, but they also have a learning site where you can look back and find nice tutorials how to make projects. Yeah, and of course the Arduino website, where you can download the Arduino program and getting a lot of help at the forum or also on the learning site. And a very nice website where you can find a lot of different projects. That's Fashioning Tech from Susie Pakiachian. Sorry, I don't spell it right, I think. And she's also since years and years in this scene and travels around the world, and she has a lot of knowledge, and it's a very nice bibliothèque, so to say, online bibliothèque, to find back a lot of projects. And then the last thing what I wanted to show, actually not the last thing, but the e-textile swatch book. That's a book from different kind of e-textile people, and we are meeting most times in the summer in France and having a kind of exchange of workshops, and we also do this exchange of swatches, and so there are kind of 25 till 30 people, and they're bringing a kind of a sample from their own research, what they did, or kind of a sample of the work they are working on, and making 25 or 30 of these swatches, and then we exchange it, and we have then these nice books with all these examples in it. And they are really very good to show also to students and exchange these. There are digital version you can find on the website from eTextiles Summer Camp. If someone is interested in, just come later to me and I will give the website. The dynamic skin from Aniela. So she's interested in our change of the body and change also what wearable technology is doing with our body. But with these, she made a kind of illustration what is going on in our body. So she brought the body systems to the outside and was looking for an aesthetical way as a fashion designer to show these. Ping Yin from Ricardo Nascimento, that's a really very nice performance. He was in Taiwan and had an artisan residency there, and he was really very interested in the community there and in the different areas and different languages in Taiwan. And so he was traveling around and collected the different fabrics from the different areas and recorded sound at the different areas. And he combined these in this dress. So the dress is made from the different fabrics, and you have here pressure sensors embedded, and if the performer presses at one of these buttons, then one of these recordings will be here and here. And it's also a nice subtle performance. I don't have sound here, so you won't hear the sound. What I wanted to show here was to see more the beauty or the search for aesthetic in craftsman technique, but also in performances, and that it can be used in very subtle language in art. So it can be also used like as a medium to express your artistic search in it. And yeah, I like to close now with this performance of Ricardo, but unfortunately it's also not so well seen. Thank you very much.
So Anja, thank you very much for this interesting talk about the wearables and e-textiles. So if there is any questions that you want to ask to Anja, there's the moment. So we have that microphone, we see it's attached to a wire, so please come here to pose this question.
Okay. Hello. In most of the examples that you have shown, can you hear me or? Yeah. I mean, in most of the examples that you have shown, you have like the textile, the fabric, and then you have the electronics like attached to them, lily pad, Arduino, whatever. And like, I mean, different things put together, kind of, right? Different things, the electronics, and then the garment or the fabric put together. And in some of them, the fabric is the sensor itself, right? And my question is, if you think that we are like very far away from like a programmable matter made into fabrics. I mean, the fabric itself can sense, can compute, and can somehow communicate without, I mean, electronics and wearables, I mean, wearables and fabrics tracing everything with conductive, resistance, materials, whatever, like everything in one single piece. If you think, because there are some examples with another part in fabric, I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. And yeah, Ebro and Irene, they are busy actually now to making a fabric computer. It will be huge. It will be really, really huge, but they like to show that it can be possible, and that they also like to show that, like in history, if there would be other choices done, then we would perhaps not have metal computers, then we would have wrapped around computers around us, or I don't know, something else, but then it could be perhaps soft. There's not really a reason why it's hard, but the direction it went into the hard technology, and now, yeah, it takes time. I think it will take quite a while, because now it also, yeah, how to get these huge computers, so it is huge soft computers now, how to get them small. So we also dependent on the fabrication or on engineering, and how to get the batteries smaller, and how to get how do we change electronic components? How can we get soft computer electronic components? But I think there are some people, they are really busy with it, but I don't know how long it will take.
Yes, thank you. So more questions. So please, if you can come here, please, to yeah. We can do nothing with the microphone, sorry.
It's all right. Hello, Anja. Your work's really, really interesting, really fascinating. But we work in fashion. We are the next people that are going to give a speech here. And we are wondering if you are taking really any steps to bring these concepts, to bring these ideas into the real world, into the real fashion, and if you are seeing any commerce here, or any possibility to see it in the market. Is there any of your students doing any steps on that?
Yeah, my students not direct. I really try to, but at the moment it's also hard to get to work with the fashion department together, for example. So I'm working on this in Den Haag. Yeah, what I see here out there, I try to show some examples. So what I see, it's kind of in the experimenting space. So that I think no one is really earning a lot of money with it. Because it's still, the connections is also really a big problem. How to make really stable connections between the hard electronic parts and with the soft parts. But in healthcare, there it's getting quicker, so I think. So that it's not really fashion, but in healthcare, there are a lot of interesting people working on it. And
are you working with any brand, a big brand in particular, that is interested in these kind of things, or is there a possibility of connecting with any Dutch brand, or are you taking those steps to try to commercialize your ideas in fashion?
Yeah, I'm an artist, and actually I decided also in different moments in my career, so to say, to stay on the artist space, so that place that I'm. So that I had some projects where I was working with companies together, but it takes so much time, and my passion is at art. So, but there are some companies that are doing kind of tests and working with it. So TU Eindhoven, or also TU Delft, they're also working with companies together and doing more products in this direction. And yeah, it's hard work to work with a company, because it means to bring the companies to our side, or to bring them into kind of experimental side, and it also means to bring the machine in another state, because they have to work with new materials, and it's a long testing phase. But I know some people, like Marina Tuters, for example, she's putting all her energy into it and working with companies together, and working with, talking with them a lot, and coaching them, and making these connections. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for me, the point is that I like a lot, of course, in general, the possibility to have the technology more integrated in somehow to ourselves. However, at the pure electronic level, for me, for example, it's extremely disturbing to be very close to electricity. And so, for example, the question of the other guy, that it's like rather to have a computer roughly on your body, for me would be extremely scary. And I think many people, I think in general, there are many directions that people try to be much more in nature, outside of electronics and so on. So I thought that maybe one of the possibilities is actually to have a different type of connection to the machine. And I'm wondering if there is anything in this direction. Like, I know that, for example, with the mind, there are some instruments that is possible to control, for example, just a mouse or something very small, just with your brain, so your wavelengths. So I don't know if there is anything so advanced that actually will eliminate to have something really electronic, very attached to your body or to your clothes.
Yeah, there's a product, it's called Mio, and it's kind of a band around the underarm, and it's measuring muscle tension, and that's kind of what you can use for any kind of interface. But in general, it's really an interesting topic, to use low current on the body to get in connection with a computer which has a higher current. Yeah.
Well, anything other questions here? Nope. So, well, before to say thank you to Anja, we want to... Happy birthday.
Suri, Soriona, Betty, Soriona, Super Anja, Soriona, Betty.
Yeah, how to blow.